Hi, I'm your host, Kevin Myers. Welcome back to the 24/7 News Show. It is September 1st, 2019. We are recording this a day ahead of August 31st, 2019. And as we come on air or get to this recording session, we have breaking news out of Texas, where there has been yet another mass shooting, or rather series of mass shootings by the same gunman who's been traveling around. There have been multiple incidents so far. They have not been caught, have not been identified as of this taping. Of course, by the time this gets up, the news will be out there, but we will be finished taping and editing, and this video will probably already be queued for release. So we're going to move on next to the Straight Pride Parade in Boston. There's not really a whole lot to say about this, of course. There were lots of floats and signs that were, pro-Trump, pro-military, all sorts of, stuff that goes with the territory of homophobia, because this is clearly that there's really no way around it. Straight Pride Parade, yeah, it's not like we've had straight pride for the entire period of human existence going back over 100,000 years. Anyway, let's move on to our top story. So our top story is the Democratic debates and who qualified and who didn't. Now, the DNC has set much tighter restrictions for this round of debates, and as a result, we're limited to about, as of now, I believe there are only 10 candidates that have qualified tonight. Yes, only 10 candidates have qualified. I'm on CNN right now on my tablet laptop hybrid. Anyway, and unfortunately, that means some other candidates have been cut. Unfortunately, depending on your position. Frankly, there were too many candidates to begin with. 20 people can't become president, especially not from the same party. So there was the debate stage needed to be cleared out, and of course, the networks, the news weren't going to do it. I'm not trying to slam the media when I say this here, but I have huge respect for journalists, of which this is not. Do not mistake it for that. But they are in the interest of creating, it is in a way like reality TV. Their best interest is to try to create as much conflict and drama on stage as possible, and to create an event that people want to tune into, whether it's Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, or whoever else. And by putting 10 candidates on the stage, splitting it up over 2 nights, you get lots of airtime, lots of advertisers to cram in there. Their incentive is not to make the DNC look good, but to just make the most interesting thing that people will tune into. But this time around, with the DNC taking control over this event, we are likely to see a much more mature-looking Democratic Party, in terms of not looking like a bunch of 6-year-olds who all hate the current president but don't really have a solution. We have 10 candidates, one night this time. It is going to be on ABC News and Univision, apparently. They have a Univision host who is going to be there alongside David Muir and one other ABC News journalist, I don't remember. But, so it is, great journalists doing this, and the current lineup as of now is Joe Biden, of course, Senator Cory Booker, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, former Housing and Urban Development Secretary Julian Castro, California Senator Kamala Harris, and Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, former Representative Beto O'Rourke for the state of Texas, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, and businessman Andrew Yang. There's still some nobodies on the stage. I don't know that nobodies is the right word, but there's still some lesser-known candidates on the stage that, quite frankly, are just not going to make it, either because their views are too extreme or because no one knows of their existence. And those debates really don't help, because people tend to not pay attention to the names. People don't actually learn who you are by watching the debates. I feel like to some extent they do, but to a greater extent it's like, who is that guy? And then 2 hours later you're still like, oh, that guy I don't like. Which was sort of my opinion on Andrew Yang. I do personally believe that a UBI is not a practical solution, but more importantly, I think it's something that will definitely hurt the Democratic Party going into 2020, trying to beat Donald Trump. So that is one of those far left positions of someone I believe who cannot get elected. Besides that, unfortunately, my favorite candidate who was eliminated was Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. I'm actually, full disclosure, I am on her email list. Although, second full disclosure, I am also not old enough to vote and therefore not legally allowed to donate to her campaign, so I did not. And unfortunately, she did not make it to the 130,000 donors threshold set by the DNC for these debates. Although, and you also had to have, I believe, you had to qualify in multiple polls. I know that much. Yeah, you needed to qualify. You need to reach at least 2% in at least 4 DNC-approved polls. And I am not sure about the polls. I know for a fact that Kirsten Gillibrand did not meet the donor requirements. Therefore, she was not eligible. Now, the deadline for that was August 28th, so just a few days ago. Unfortunately, when it came out, by the end of the day, they had realized they were not going to make it, and Kirsten Gillibrand officially suspended her campaign indefinitely for President of the United States, which was unfortunate. But among others who have been, Senator Marianne Williamson, who I am not sad to see go, just because for watching, I was not impressed with her. Again, this is my opinion. That's why it says opinion on the graphic, I believe, down here. But I was not impressed with her. Personally, I've made this joke before. It honestly, to me, seemed like she was high, at least during the NBC Democratic debates. The CNN ones, she was a little more, a little less crazy, I felt like, on stage. Her arguments were slightly more cohesive, made slightly more sense, slightly more logical. I don't know, personally, she didn't make any valid points and definitely didn't have the credibility for me. Being just an author, like Kamala Harris was a federal prosecutor and a senator from California. Kirsten Gillibrand was a senator. Bernie Sanders, a candidate who I do not like, but was a senator. Joe Biden, who was vice president. Like, these are important qualifications. Definitely government experience after President Trump, who was, let's be real here, probably one of the worst presidents in American history, who was not qualified for the job. He was a failed businessman, because if we look at his finances, he is, during multiple periods, he lost, as reported by the IRS, he lost more money than any other individual taxpayer during that year. So clearly not a good businessman. And even so, how does being a businessman qualify you for being president of the United States? I personally believe that one of the best qualifications for being president is to be governor of a state, because it's kind of like mini president, essentially, because states are just smaller versions of the federal government, how they're organized, and the governor is just the president of the state. So definitely, I think that's an important qualification. Senator, House, Representative, those are both also great qualifications. So personally, I think that most of the people on the stage are definitely qualified to be there. Again, I would say of all the people on stage, I think Kamala Harris is probably the lowest polling person who even has a chance of making the nomination, and even then, I'm not sure. I am skeptical that she does have a chance. At this point, as polls predicted, is Joe Biden, and this time around, I am definitely trying to be more cautious, and I urge caution in the same. Don't immediately believe all the polls you see, because we all thought Donald Trump was going to lose in 2016, so clearly the polls aren't always right. It doesn't mean fake news the way Trump was saying during the 2016 election, but what it does mean is that the polls are imperfect and the science used is imperfect, and that the methods used to conduct these polls are most likely flawed. Other than that, that's pretty much it for this wrap-up of the Democratic debates and just a few other stories of what's going on right now in the country. Thanks for watching the 24/7 News Show. Like, dislike, comment below. Again, rational comments only if you are racist, sexist, homophobic, etc. We will block you, and we reserve the right to report you to YouTube. Will they do something about it? Probably not. Just considering the Carlos Maza case, they seem to like to profit off of homophobia and racism and sexism on their platform. But we still reserve the right to delete your comments. YouTube allows us to do that, and we can block you from commenting on all future videos. So if you hate all the Democrats, that's fine. Just attack them based on their merits and not based on their race, sexual orientation, or gender. Just attack them based on their policies, like a human person and not a monster. Again, thanks for watching the 24/7 News Show. See you again. Actually, important note, we will be back on September 10th with exclusive coverage of Apple's event where they are likely to announce the next iPhone. Thanks for watching. This is YouTube. People watch it at different times of day. I was going to say goodnight, but I won't.